Well, hey, welcome to our resident courtroom, and look at this wonderful garb that I'm wearing. I guess this makes me official. I've got a gavel in hand as well. We're going to talk a little bit today about some questions that we need to make some decisions on. So I've got my first guest today, Pete. Pete, thanks so much for coming on today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, Pete, it's fantastic to have you. Tell folks a little bit about yourself, and then what do you think makes you qualified to be on the final verdict?
I don't know about qualified, but I've been in the technology industry my whole life. You know, ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I was involved in technology, and that just evolved, and probably like a lot of people, fell into the AV industry amongst other technologies. Running my own company for many years in Australia before moving to the US in 2019, and unfortunately you're stuck with me now.
Well, that's good. I like to hear that because you're stuck with me too, I guess, in the short term. I want to ask, we're going to go heavy off the top here.
Okay,
So
let's do it.
I'm going to ask you to defend the position of should we use AI technology and rely heavily on AI technology in our AV community?
Absolutely, we should be relying on it and embracing it to its fullest. We already see a lot of products out there with AI built into it, and the AI is just getting better and better all the time. It's becoming smarter, and you know what? It's making, at the end of the day, what it's really doing is making for a better user experience, and that's what we're all about. What we do in our industry is all about creating better user experiences, and if AI helps us do that, then absolutely we should be doing everything we can to embrace it. I'm sure there's probably some downsides to AI, but I think those small risks or concerns are easily overshadowed by the power of AI and how it can help transform the AV industry.
Well, look, I think that's a pretty definitive yes. I agree 100% with you. Now, there's a caveat in there, right?
Right.
A lot of folks think AI and they immediately think product design.
Right.
AI is a fantastic project management tool, like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
There's a lot of great benefits of the technology outside of just manufacturing products. So I
Yes.
think that there's a lot of different
Yep.
applications there.
Yeah, 100%. And once again, like from a design perspective, we're seeing AI being built into design solutions to help us design better systems. Whether that is using it for like simulating acoustic performance within a space. There's so many applications that AI has on so many different levels, not just product.
Pete's second question here is the role of AR and VR in our industry. Some people swear by it, some people can't stand it. Where do you stand?
Well, look, I think VR, to be honest, and I'm probably going to upset a lot of people by saying this, I really think that VR is a little bit like 3D TV. It promised a lot. We had a lot of expectations behind it, and to me, it's fallen short, right? So much potential. I think AR is definitely the way to go. Having an augmented reality where we can wear normal looking glasses, for example, where we can share content easily with privacy as well, right? Like we can actually see something on our glasses and the person that we're talking to is not seeing that content. We can share content with one another. We can build cameras into those glasses as well. And so I just think there's a lot more applications for AR versus VR. I really don't think that unless the technology becomes more discreet, I don't think people don't want to wear a headset. Right, and also you've got this issue of motion sickness. We've got issues with interfaces with VR being completely different from one manufacturer to another. I just think there's too many variables. I like the concept of it, but for what we do, I think it's probably found its niche in the gaming world. I think I'm all in on AR, all in.
Well, look, especially when you talk about VR, you're exactly right. From an end user standpoint, it's kind of wonky and weird. What I will say, there's been a great application from the design community, leveraging it to drop people inside rooms. But I tend to agree that that's probably the best and I would say primary application.
I think the applications are very niche. That's what they are. I think it was promoted as more of a broader technology that could be used in so many different ways. But I totally agree. I'm once again, all in from the design perspective is using VR. There's a number of vendors here, exhibitors here at the show that have VR products that, best in class. I think they one in particular I think is going to be the best in show.
Any thoughts on who that is? You could say this.
Yeah,
This is my show.
All
so
right.
we can
Well,
talk
it's a short show since we're all friends. So Headwell. So I love Modus VR. They've been around for a couple of years at Infocom. But Headwell, they do a virtual reality control room environment. So you could, it's a digital twin. So you can actually take a real control command center and virtualize it and actually be able to control it from anywhere in the world. So I think that is just absolutely incredible. Amazing technology.
Well, hey, look, while we're picking sides and calling people's names out a little bit, I wanted to ask a question that might ruffle a couple of feathers.
Right.
Open source protocols versus closed ecosystem protocols.
Well, I'm back in the day, I'm an IT guy, right? So I'm all for open source, as open as you can possibly get. I get a little frustrated when we start having these walled gardens that a lot of manufacturers have created for themselves. I understand the principle behind it. They're trying to create their own ecosystem. They're trying to lock people in. At the end of the day, I get it. It's sales. Is that really what the client wants or what the client needs? I don't think so. I think we should be taking more of a standards-based approach or an IT-based approach where we can have products and we have technologies that can talk to one another. We have AV over IP products that can't communicate with each other. Like it is absolutely ridiculous. The closest thing we have to a standard is probably a HDMI cable or a USB cable, right? Like that's about it. So definitely open protocols all the way, share the wealth, create the connectivity and the integration that we really need.
Pete, I would be an unfair judge if I didn't present the other side of the case, which is closed ecosystems tend to have better serviceability, reliability, things like that. But I totally fully understand your point, especially coming from the IT side of things.
Yes.
We'll leave that one open because we're going to probably talk about that for the rest of the week.
Okay.
Last question, and maybe the most hard-hitting one, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Well, look, that is a great question, Your Honor. Look, this is something
Don't patronize me.
This is something that has really tormented me since moving to the US. It really, really has. And probably what torments me more is not so much is a hot dog a sandwich, but is a burger a sandwich, right? That's one thing that really gets under my skin. And look, if we have a look at the facts, if we have a look at history, we don't have to go that far back. We go back to 1762. John Montagu, the fourth. Oh
no!
Hang on. You bear with me, okay? All right, bear with me. You're going to learn something.
No, it's fine.
You're going to learn something.
Do it.
We're here to learn.
You just
okay?
just take over my segment. It's yours now.
I will. Thank you. So John Montagu, the fourth Earl of Sandwich in England, right? He requested something from the kitchen that he could eat with his hands. Okay, he was a chronic gambler, and he would sit there and he'd want to gamble and he'd want to eat, and he didn't want to leave his seat. So the staff came over to him and they brought out 2 slices of bread filled with meat, and the sandwich was created. Okay, but the key to that is 2 slices of bread. Okay, 2 slices of bread, not a bun, not a bread roll, not a French stick, 2 slices of bread. And if we have a look at the definition of a burger, it tells us, even in the Cambridge Dictionary, it tells us that it is a patty, typically round, served on a bun. Served on a bun. So therefore, a burger, I should say, is not a sandwich. It never has been a sandwich, and it never will be a sandwich.
Look,
I rest my case.
Well, the case is, consider it not rested. It's still very much open in my book. As a Texan, I'm a big fan of buns being on sandwiches. I think it's a thing that we'll consider. But I'll tell you what, Pete, this might as well just be your show now, because that was probably the best well-defended case I've ever seen.
I appreciate that.
But that has been the final verdict. Thanks so much, Pete, for coming on today.